On this day in 1983, Charlie Nicholas made his Arsenal debut against Luton Town. In this video, I look back on that day and the impact he made at the club. Hello and welcome back to my channel over and over again, which features everything to do with Arsenal. Now in this video I'm going to be looking back on this day in 1983, which was the league debut of Charlie Nicholas for Arsenal, which was a match against Luton Town at Highbury. Just before I get into all that though, if you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe so you keep up to date with all the videos that I'm doing. It's a new Arsenal channel. I'm looking at covering a lot of stuff, current stuff, but also as well, like today, some stuff from the past as well, some classic matches and some classic players. If you've been here before, you've seen a few of my videos, you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. It helps me grow the channel, and if you do enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up as well. That would be much appreciated. So I'll say on this day in 1983, 37 years ago, it doesn't seem that long, does it? But it is. Of course, Charlie Nicholas made his Arsenal debut on the first game of the season against Luton at Highbury. Now, that summer in 1983, the biggest transfer was always going to be Charlie Nicholas's move away from Celtic. He's got 48 goals for them the season before, and in fact has scored 84 goals in 117 appearances for the club. He was 21 years old, highly sought after throughout English football, and in fact Liverpool and Manchester United were also interested in him. Now, originally, Charlie's first choice had been Manchester United, but he didn't really get the vibes from them. And with Liverpool, he maybe didn't feel as though he would get as much game time, of course, because they had Kenny Dalglish and Ian Rush at that particular time. And he bought into the fact that what Arsenal were looking at doing in terms of rebuilding and moving forward. So he joined Arsenal for £750,000, which at the time was one of the club's most expensive signings. I think it was only the £1 million deal with Clive Allen and Kenny Sansom 3 years before that had been higher than that. So it was a big transfer for Arsenal, and there was a lot of changes at the club as well. Now, up until that point, Arsenal had been stuck in the 1950s, really, it seemed, for quite a long time. You know, we had the Metropolitan Police marching band on the pitch at half time, and there was the match programme, which was written in a very 1950s style. But that summer we seemed to really catch up to the modern age, maybe helped by the fact that David Dein joined the board, of course, that summer as well. So the match programme, it became a Matchday magazine in a much more modern style, which was a big improvement. And also as well, we had a PA announcer playing records of music before the game and at half time, which was a new concept for the club as well in 1983. So we really caught up with the modern era that summer. Now, this particular game against Luton Town, there was a lot of anticipation obviously for Charlie Nicholas's debut. Now, the players actually came out onto the pitch in a very American style. Individually they were announced as they ran out onto the pitch, and of course Charlie was the last one to come through. Now, he admitted afterwards that he felt quite embarrassed about that, really, and the club didn't repeat that again. It was more the traditional, the team all coming out together after that. But this particular day, that did kind of lead to more anticipation and excitement, really. Now, I was only 15 years old at the time. The signing of Charlie Nicholas was probably the most exciting thing that had happened to the club in my time supporting them up till then. So it was a big deal. We was all excited about it that day. Remember, a really hot day. I was on the North Bank and really excited to see Charlie Nicholas play. Now, the game itself against Luton Town was not the greatest game. Let's be perfectly clear about that. But we did manage to win the game 2-1. We took the lead in the first half. It looked like Charlie had been fouled actually just on the edge of the box, but the referee waved play on. Paul Davis got the ball. He broke clear down the left-hand side, chipped a great ball into the 6-yard box for Tony Woodcock to head home. Now, Woodcock had scored 21 goals the season before in his first season at the club. Excellent player. He scored a hat-trick against Luton actually the season before at Highbury, and he was back up and running straight away. Luton did equalise before half-time. It was actually an own goal from Stuart Robson. He closed down to try to tackle Paul Walsh, who looked like he was about to score anyway, but Robson sort of kicked the ball into the roof of his own net past Pat Jennings to make it 1-1. And then in the second half, of course, there was Arsenal attacking the North Bank. So there was real big anticipation that Charlie might get the goal to win us the game. And we did score a second goal, but unfortunately it wasn't Charlie that got it. It was Brian McDermott. Actually, oddly enough, Tony Woodcock burst into the penalty area and was actually fouled. And it's very likely that the referee would have given a penalty had the ball not fell to McDermott, who kicks it into the bottom corner of the net. But it's a shame looking back on it now, because had there been a penalty, Charlie Nicholas would probably have taken it. He would have got an early goal in the season. He would have actually got an early goal at Highbury, and maybe everything might have been different for him. But unfortunately, it didn't quite work out that way. We did win the game 2-1. Charlie has shown some nice touches, and he looked a good player, but he wasn't quite the debut we'd all been hoping for, really. But we went away satisfied enough that we'd won the game. 2 days later, which was on the bank holiday Monday, we were away at Wolves, and Charlie actually scored both goals that day. Arsenal won 2-1 again. One of the goals actually was a penalty, so he got up and running quite quickly, and that excitement from that soon disappeared though, because as it turned out, up until Christmas he only scored once more for the club. That was away at Tottenham in the League Cup. A really great night that was, but unfortunately a very rare high really in the first half of the season. And of course by Christmas the manager Terry Neal had been sacked. Don Howard come in, and of course anybody who was there for the game against Birmingham in the period between Christmas and New Year that season, of course there was that great moment when we did get a penalty at Highbury and Charlie Nicholas finally scored his first home goal. And of course the celebrations that day, there was only a crowd of about 25,000 I think, but we celebrated as though we'd won the league really, just to see Charlie score a goal at home. Of course things did pick up for Charlie Nicholas in the second half of that season, mainly after the arrival of Paul Mariner, who we bought from Ipswich in February 1984. We then sort of played a front three system, actually quite adventurous for such a defensive coach as Don Howe. But Charlie actually thrived in that. He actually ended the season with 13 goals, which actually wasn't too bad when you look at how slow it started, and also as well how poorly the team had performed for most of the season. We did have a good finish to the season and finished 6th, but I think everybody was a little bit disappointed in the end. But Charlie had more of an influence as well, not just on the pitch but off the pitch as well with the fans. There were so many Arsenal fans that grew the Charlie Nicholas haircut, and I have to admit I was one of them. I did have a bit of hair back then, but I was obviously a lot younger. And his clothes as well, he sort of changed the style really, and Arsenal fans suddenly became a lot more fashion conscious really, and all that kind of thing helped, I say, move Arsenal really. For me that was the start of the modern era for Arsenal. Unfortunately the actual modern era of success on the pitch would take a few years longer, until George Graham arrived 3 years later. But certainly the club moved into the modern era in a lot of other ways from 1983. Of course, in the end, it was George Graham that discarded Charlie, wasn't it? Which I was quite surprised about actually, because both of them being Scottish, Charlie Nicholas had a very similar style as a player to as George Graham had done, and I maybe thought that George would maybe understand him a bit more, but he was a much more disciplinarian manager. He demanded a lot more work rate from his players, and unfortunately Charlie didn't really fit into that. He did of course help George win his first trophy, didn't he, that first season, 1986, 1987, when we won the League Cup, didn't we? And it was Charlie that scored both the goals at Wembley that day to beat Liverpool. But unfortunately that was the swan song for his Arsenal career. Just 3 games into the following 1987-88 season, he was left out of the team. We bought Alan Smith, of course, that summer, and he basically replaced Charlie Nicholas. Perry Groves came in as well to the team, and Charlie was left out, and he stayed at the club until January 1988, until he finally moved back to Scotland, to Aberdeen, for £400,000, having made 184 appearances for Arsenal and scored just 54 goals. So it was quite a disappointing stay at Arsenal overall, although of course he'll always be remembered for that day at Wembley. But for me personally, I'll always remember his debut, even though he didn't score. It was just such a great day, and such a great excitement that was built up around it. So that's that video there, just looking back on this day in 1983, Charlie Nicholas's Arsenal debut in a win against Luton Town at Highbury. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please click the thumbs up button, please like and subscribe, and please share this channel as well if you're enjoying what I'm doing. I've got some good stuff coming up. I'm hoping to do a live show at some point before the Community Shield, if I can fit one in, or it'll be afterwards. I've definitely got a live show booked in for next Thursday, the 3rd of September. I've got a really special guest coming on. I'll reveal full details of that in due course, but it's going to be an exciting show, that, so please make sure you're around for that. It'll be 7 o'clock on the 3rd of September. And of course there'll be loads of other shows as well, loads of other videos I'll be doing as we look forward to obviously the Community Shield at the weekend. I'll be doing stuff before the game and after the game for that. And then of course as well as we move in towards the new Premier League season as well. So there's lots of stuff coming up. So I say please subscribe to the channel to help me grow it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and look out for the rest of the stuff I've got coming up over the next few weeks. Help me grow the channel, and I hope you're enjoying what I'm doing. But of course, in the meantime, as always, we always end the same way. Not going to be any different today. Come on, you Gunners!